Okay, so in this video I'm going to look at calculating standard deviation, and I'm going to do two examples here. I'm going to do an example where I have a list of numbers 9, 13, 14, 15 and 19, and another example where I've got a frequency table. In fact, it's a grouped frequency table here because the ages here are in groups 0 to 10, 10 to 20 and so on. Now we've got two formulae that are fairly similar but slightly different that I'm going to use. You can also do these using your calculator, and depending on what calculator you have, you'll need to work out what way to do it. But I'm going to do it the long way using these two formulae here. So first thing I'm going to do is just do this side here, this list of numbers, and I'm going to use this formula here. Standard deviation sigma is equal to the square root of the sum of this e here. Just means the sum of, you add up these values here and divide your answer by the total number of numbers. This is x, each individual number, these are our x's here, minus x bar, which just means the mean of these numbers, and then you square your answer. So we're going to do it in stages, and I'm going to write out a little table here to work this out. So let's first of all, we're going to need a mean first. We're going to need x bar first of all. So let's look at doing that. Okay, so we're going to work out x bar, or our mean. Our mean is just all of these numbers added and divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to add up these numbers and divide by 5, and we find that our mean when we do this is actually 14. So I won't actually do that. You just got to add these up and divide by 5. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is use this formula here to work out the standard deviation. So what I'm going to do is write out a little table here to help me do that. First thing I'm going to do is just write down the x's. Then I'm going to write down what my mean is, that's x bar. Then I'm going to subtract these two, because remember we have to subtract these two here. So then I'm going to write down x minus x bar, or that's just the difference if you like. You could call it the d for difference either. And then I'm going to square it because I need to square it here. So I'm going to write down x minus x bar, and I'm going to square it. Or it's just d squared if you like. So I'm going to do this bit here. And then I'm just going to add up this column, which will give me the top line, or the numerator of this fraction. Okay, so let's do all of this then. Our x's are, let's see, we've got 9, 13, 14, 15, and 19. X bar we know is just the mean, which is 14, 14, 14, 14, and 14. We want to subtract these two now, x minus x bar. So 9 minus 14 is minus 5, and if we square that, we'll get 25. 13 minus 14, minus 1, square that, you get 1. 14 minus 14 is 0, square that, you get 0. 15 minus 14 is 1, square that, you get 1. 19 minus 14 is 5, square that, you get 25. The reason we're squaring it is to get rid of any negative numbers here. Now we want the sum of x minus x bar squared. So I'm going to add up all of these. So if I add up all of those, I'll get 52. Okay, so let's do the next bit then. We want to divide by n, the number of numbers. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So I'm going to take 52. I'm going to divide by 5. And remember, I need to get the square root of that as well. And when you do that, you get 3.22. That's the 2 decimal places. Okay, just the 2 decimal places, 3.22. So our standard deviation is 3.22. Okay, so that's how you calculate the standard deviation for a list of numbers. So let's have a look at this one here on the right hand side. Now this one here it's really the same formula. Slight difference in here in that you've got frequency here. Rather than listing all of these numbers out, they've just put down that you've got 10 of these numbers, 19 of these numbers, 25 of these, 30 of these, and 16 of these. So we're going to use this formula here. So again, I'm just going to, first of all, we'll have to calculate the mean here, the x bar here. So to do that, I've done that in a previous video, so I'm not going to actually write it out. You just basically, first of all, you have to find the mid-interval values here. The mid-interval values here, I can write it up here, mid-interval values. Because this is a grouped frequency table, you've got to find mid-interval values. Because there are 10 of these between 0 and 10, but we don't know what values between 0 and 10 we're talking about. So we just know that there are 10 of these between 0 and 10. So we're just going to find the mid-interval value, which is 5. So instead of using 0 to 10, we're going to use 5. Here we're going to use 15. And here we're going to use 25. Here we're going to use 40. And here we're going to use 65, the middle number between 50 and 80. Okay, so these are mid-interval values. So there are 10 5s, 19 15s, 25 25s, there are 30 40s, and 16 65s. On average, really. Really, we're doing an estimate here because we don't know which numbers are between 0 and 10, 10 and 20, and so on. Anyway, the mean, anyway, we've got to work out first, our x bar. Now, our x bar is, in fact, when you work it out, it's actually 32. Okay. Now, I've done that in a previous video, so if you need to find out how to work that out, just have a look at that. Basically, we multiply 5 by 10, 15 by 19, 25 by 25, 40 by 30, 65 by 16, add them all up and divide by 100 here. Okay, if you add up these numbers here, the frequencies, you get 100. Okay. I probably should have said at the beginning, this is just a general question. These are ages here, and these are the number of people between 0 and 10 years of age, 10 and 20 years of age, 20 and 30 years of age, and so on. But anyway, to work out the standard deviation here, let's do our table again. Now, this is going to be a slightly longer table, so we're going to work this bit here out first, and then divide by n, and then get the square root. Okay, so let's just write out our table. What do we need? Well, I'm just going to write down, first of all, the mid-interval values. The mid-interval values. So we're going to need that. I'm going to write down the frequency. We need x times our frequency. Our mid-interval values are really just x. I'm going to multiply the frequency by the mid-interval value. I'm going to write down the mean here, the x bar. The difference, which is our x minus our x bar. That's just our difference again. I'm going to square it because we need to square it here. So it's x minus x bar, and I'm going to just square that. So that's just d squared. And then I'm going to multiply the frequency by, because remember, we've got to multiply f by our difference here. So it's going to be f times x minus x bar squared. So that's just fd squared, if you like. F times our difference squared. Okay, so this is our table, and I'm going to just write in our values here. So let's do that. Okay, so let's see. Our mid-interval values are 5, 15, 25, 40, and 65. Our frequencies then are just, well, we've got 10 of these, we've got 19 of these, we've got 25 of these, 30 of these, and 16 of these. Okay, x times f then, we're going to multiply our x times our f. That gives us 50, 285, 625, 1200, 1040. Okay, our x bar then is our mean, as we worked out earlier, is 32, 32, 32, 32, and 32. Now, this column here, I put in, I'm not really going to use it as such in this case, but it's used to work out our mean. So if you want to work out the mean, it's handy to have this column here in. So let's work out this bit here first. X minus X bar. So we're going to subtract 32 from 5. That gives us minus 27. 32 from 15 will give us minus 17. 32 from 25 will give us minus 7. 32 from 40, that will give us 8. And 32 from 65 will give us 33. So now we've done our x minus x bar. Now we've got to square this. So minus 27 squared is 729. We've got 289, 49, 64, and 1089. Okay, so now we've done our x minus x bar squared. Now we just got to multiply this number here by f. So here's our f here, so we're going to multiply it out. So we got 7290 when we multiply this by 10. Multiply 289 by 19. That'll give us 5491. Multiply 49 by 25. That'll give us 1225. Multiply 64 by 30. That's 1920. And finally multiply 1089 by 16. That gives us 17424. 17424. Now remember from the formula, this was the numerator, part of the numerator of our fraction within the square root. We've got to add these up. Remember we had a sigma, a large E here in front of it, so I've got to add all of these up. When I add them up, I get 33350. So now this number here represents the top part of the fraction here. So we've got to divide that by n, which is the number of people we're talking about in total, which is all of these added up, which happens to be 100. So I'm going to take a number, these ones added up, I'm going to divide it by 100, I'm going to get the square root. That will give me the sigma here. So let's do that. So we have our sigma is going to be equal to the square root of this number here, which is 33350, divided by 100. When we do that, we get 18.26. And that's it. That's our standard deviation. That's our average deviation from the mean, if you like. So in both cases we've had to draw out a table. Now I added in, remember I added in this column here just to help me calculate the mean here. You remember you have to calculate the mean in order to put it into this column, so I put in this column here to calculate the mean. It doesn't really involve the standard deviation, if you like, calculation as such, but it just helps me calculate the mean, which I put in this column then when I finally work it out. Okay, so we've worked out the standard deviation for a list of numbers and for a grouped frequency table using the formula. But remember, as I said earlier, you can use your calculator. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot easier. Just work out how to input the data to your calculators and calculate the mean. You can calculate the means and then calculate the standard deviations as well. A lot quicker, but it depends on the question you're asked in an exam or whatever, whether you can use a calculator or you have to do it the long way, like this.